Episode 6, Shadows of the Past. The days following Rylan's first lesson passed in a blur of magical training. With each session, he began to understand more about the powers that lay dormant inside him. Lucian was patient, guiding him through each step, helping him tap into the magic that felt so natural and yet so foreign to him. But even as Rylan grew more confident in his abilities, something nagged at him, something in Lucian's demeanor that didn't sit right. There were moments when the prince's gaze grew distant, and Rylan could feel an underlying tension in the air, something unsaid, a shadow that hung over them both. It was on the fourth evening of training when Lucian finally spoke of it. "Tonight, we need to do something different," Lucian said, his voice quieter than usual as he stood at the edge of the training room. "We will begin your next lesson, but it will not be easy. It will test you in ways you've never been tested before." Rylan frowned, feeling a twinge of apprehension in his chest. "What do you mean?" Lucian turned to face him, his eyes hard and unreadable. "I'm going to take you somewhere. A place you need to see for yourself." Rylan's heart skipped a beat. "A place? What kind of place?" "A place tied to your past," Lucian said, his tone grave. "A place that holds the answers to the questions you've been avoiding. But be warned, Rylan. This is not something you can easily forget." Rylan swallowed hard. He didn't know why, but something deep inside him told him he couldn't say no. "Okay, where are we going?" Lucian's expression softened, just for a moment. "Follow me." They left the mansion, stepping into the cool night air. Rylan's breath fogged in the chill, but there was an odd sense of warmth surrounding him, as if the magic inside him was reacting to the surroundings. Lucian led him through the sprawling estate, past the stone walls and toward the edge of the property, where the forest began. The trees loomed tall and silent, their dark branches twisting like fingers reaching toward the sky. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Rylan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "Where are we going?" Rylan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lucian didn't answer right away. Instead, he motioned for Rylan to follow him deeper into the forest. The further they went, the more oppressive the air became. It felt heavy, as if the very earth was holding its breath. Finally, they arrived at a clearing, and Rylan stopped in his tracks. Before him stood an ancient stone structure, an archway made of dark, weathered stone, entwined with vines and moss. It looked like something out of a forgotten era, as if it didn't belong in the world they were standing in. "This is the Gate of Remembrance," Lucian explained, his voice low. "It is a place that holds the memories of those who have come before you, a place that reveals the truth about your past. But be warned, once you step through, you may not be able to return to the way you were before." Rylan's heart raced. He felt a pull toward the archway, a strange force that seemed to call to him. He couldn't explain it, but it was as if the gate was a part of him, like it had always been waiting for him to cross it. "What happens if I go through?" Rylan asked, his voice thick with uncertainty. Lucian's eyes were dark with something Rylan couldn't quite place. "You will face your ancestors. You will see their choices, their mistakes, and their triumphs. You will understand what led you to this moment. But you must be prepared. The truth is not always kind." Rylan hesitated for a moment, but the pull from the gate was too strong to ignore. "I'm ready." Lucian nodded solemnly, stepping back as Rylan approached the archway. The moment Rylan passed through the gate, the world around him seemed to shift. The forest disappeared, replaced by a vast, ethereal space, swirling with mist and soft light. Shadows danced on the edges of his vision, and the air felt thick with ancient magic. Rylan blinked, his eyes wide. He was no longer standing in the forest. He was in a place that defied explanation, a place where time seemed to bend and twist. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice shaking. "This is the realm of your ancestors," Lucian's voice echoed around him. "This is where the memories of your bloodline are kept, preserved through time. It's a place of reflection and revelation." As Lucian spoke, the mist began to part, revealing faint images, flashes of people, places, and events that seemed to belong to another time. They moved like shadows, flickering in and out of existence. Rylan's gaze followed one image, and his breath caught. It was a young man, someone who looked strikingly familiar. He had the same dark hair, the same sharp features, but his eyes, they were filled with sadness and regret. The figure was standing in front of a great throne, and the words he spoke echoed in the air, "We have made a pact with forces we cannot control. The price for power is too great, but there is no turning back now." Rylan took a step forward, reaching out to the image, but it dissolved before his fingers could touch it. Another figure appeared, this one a woman with eyes that glowed like fire. Her voice rang clear in the mist, "Your legacy is not one of peace. It will be one of conflict. And you must be ready, for the enemies that will rise against you are already watching." The words hit Rylan like a wave. He staggered back, trying to process what he had seen. "What does this mean?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "What does all of this mean?" Lucian stepped beside him, his face grave. "It means that your bloodline is bound by a curse. The power you possess is both a gift and a burden. You were not chosen by chance, Rylan. You are the key to a struggle that has been ongoing for centuries." Rylan's head spun. "A curse? But I don't understand. I just want to be normal. I never asked for any of this." Lucian placed a hand on his shoulder, his grip firm. "You never asked for this, but now it's yours. You can't outrun it. You must face the legacy of your ancestors, and in doing so, you'll learn the truth about your destiny." The mist swirled again, and another figure appeared. This one was older, a man who stood tall and proud, his eyes filled with power. He spoke in a deep voice, "To protect what matters most, you will have to sacrifice everything. But be warned, Rylan. The path ahead is filled with darkness, and not all sacrifices lead to the same end." As the figure disappeared, Rylan felt a deep chill settle in his bones. The weight of the words, the power they held, was suffocating. "This is your future," Lucian said, his voice low. "A future full of choices, both light and dark. You must decide which path you will walk." Rylan closed his eyes, feeling the enormity of what he was about to face. His entire world had just been turned upside down. "I'm scared," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Lucian looked at him with a mixture of understanding and resolve. "You will be. But you are not alone. Remember that, Rylan. Whatever comes next, we face it together." 4 days after stepping through the gate of remembrance, Rylan couldn't sleep. The echoes of his ancestors' warnings haunted his mind. Every flicker of candlelight reminded him of those haunting figures in the mist, their voices etched deep into his bones. Lucian had given him space, silently watching over him but never forcing him to talk. Rylan appreciated that more than he could say. Still, a storm brewed inside him. Then, one crisp morning, a letter arrived sealed in silver wax, stamped with the royal crest. Rylan turned it over in his hands, heart thudding. Lucian watched him from across the room. "It's time," he said quietly. Rylan peeled open the letter. Prince Lucian of House Valamir is to be presented at the Grand Winter Ball to announce his choice of consort. Attendance is mandatory for all nobility, allies, and those under royal protection. His name wasn't mentioned, but Rylan didn't need it to be. He was under Lucian's protection. Which meant, he had to go. "But I'm no one," Rylan whispered. "I'm just..." Lucian stood, walking over to him. He gently placed a gloved hand on Rylan's. "You're not just anything. You are Rylan of the hidden bloodline, the boy who awakened the gate, and the one who has bewitched me more than I care to admit." Rylan's breath caught. He looked up to meet Lucian's eyes, but the prince had already turned away, his voice composed again. "You'll need something to wear." The palace was glowing that night. Every chandelier sparkled with floating orbs of magic, glittering like stars. Musicians played violins that shimmered with enchantment, and the grand ballroom floor was a mosaic of glass and moonlight. Rylan stood outside the ballroom doors, heart racing beneath the mask that covered half his face. He wore a deep sapphire cloak and a suit of tailored black and silver that hugged his frame. He hardly recognized himself. "You look like royalty," whispered a voice beside him. He turned and there was Lucian. No crown, no sword. Just Lucian in midnight blue, his hair brushed back, his presence commanding and breathtaking. Their eyes locked. "You said I bewitched you," Rylan murmured. "Was that true?" Lucian's gaze dropped for the briefest second. "Every word." And then the doors opened. Inside the ballroom, nobles twirled across the floor in choreographed elegance. Laughter, magic, flirtation, it all swirled around Rylan like a whirlwind he didn't belong in. But then the music shifted. The herald's voice rang out, loud and clear. "Prince Lucian of House Valamir shall now present his opening dance. He may choose any guest to join him." All eyes turned toward Lucian. Rylan's heart pounded. He stepped back, ready to disappear into the crowd. But Lucian didn't even hesitate. His hand extended, to Rylan. The room gasped. Whispers flared up instantly. Who is he that's not a noble? Is the prince mad? Rylan froze. He couldn't breathe. Lucian's voice broke through the panic. "Dance with me, Rylan." It wasn't a request. It was a promise. Hand trembling, Rylan took it and the ballroom melted away. Their dance was nothing like the others, elegant but electric. Every twirl, every lift, every time Lucian's hand rested at Rylan's waist, magic seemed to crackle through the air. They weren't just dancing, they were telling a story. A forbidden one. The prince and the boy with no title. The ballroom stared, but neither of them cared. For a moment, the world felt like it belonged to just them. As the final notes rang out, Lucian leaned close to Rylan's ear. "Tonight was just the beginning," he whispered. But before Rylan could ask what he meant, a sudden burst of dark energy cracked through the stained glass ceiling. Guests screamed. Magic flared. The lights blinked out. And standing in the rafters, cloaked in shadow and flame, was a man with crimson eyes. "I've come," the stranger declared, voice echoing like thunder. "To claim what was stolen from me, and to finish what your ancestors began." Lucian stepped in front of Rylan, drawing a dagger with fluid grace. "Rylan, get behind me." But Rylan didn't move. Because the man above looked exactly like the last figure he'd seen in the Gate of Remembrance. His ancestor. His future, or something worse. The ballroom was chaos. Screams echoed against marble walls as nobles ran in all directions. Magic sparked like wildfire, flashes of gold, silver, and crimson darting through the air as guards scrambled to protect the prince. But Lucian stood still. His body shielded Rylan, his dagger gleaming in the flickering torchlight. Above them, the intruder descended like a wraith cloaked in darkness. His boots barely made a sound as they hit the floor. The crowd parted instinctively, terror-stricken. Rylan couldn't move. That face, those burning crimson eyes were seared into his memory. From the gate. From his dreams. From the whispers in the night. You, Rylan breathed. You were in the vision. The man's lips curled into a slow, cruel smile. So the boy remembers. Lucian narrowed his eyes. Who are you? I am Caldrian, the stranger declared. Last living heir of the forbidden line. You called it betrayal. I call it justice. Gasps rippled through the remaining guests. The forbidden line was a myth, a bloodline thought wiped out after the Great War of Magic. Impossible, muttered one noble. They were destroyed. Caldrian's laugh sent a chill through the room. We were silenced. Buried. But shadows don't die, they wait. And now, I've come to claim what was meant for us. His eyes landed on Rylan. You opened the gate, he said softly. And awakened more than you know. The blood of our ancestors runs in your veins, boy. You were never meant to serve the throne. You were meant to rise against it. Rylan stepped back, heart hammering. I'm nothing like you. Not yet, Caldrian whispered. But you will be. Or you'll fall with the rest. He raised his hand and a pulse of shadow magic exploded from his palm. Lucian reacted instantly, slashing his dagger through the air, conjuring a barrier of blazing white light that shielded them both. The impact shook the ballroom, sending cracks through the floor. Rylan, Lucian growled. Run. Now. But Rylan stood his ground. No, he said. I'm done running. Caldrian tilted his head. Brave, or foolish? Rylan raised his palm. His veins glowed faintly with golden light, magic he didn't understand but could feel awakening. Something ancient stirred in his chest. You think you know my destiny, Rylan said, his voice steady. You don't. I'll write it myself. The golden light burst from him in a wave. Not violent but protective. It wrapped around Lucian, shielding him. Then surged toward Caldrian, forcing the shadow heir to stagger back for the first time. Caldrian's smile faltered. Interesting. But before he could retaliate, a dozen royal enforcers stormed in. Magical arrows flew. The chandelier crashed. Caldrian vanished into smoke, hissing words that echoed long after his body disappeared. The blood moon rises soon. Choose your side, or be crushed beneath it. Silence returned. Smoke drifted through the broken glass. Music had stopped. Fear lingered in every breath. Lucian turned to Rylan, eyes filled with awe and something deeper. You just saved us. I didn't even know I could, Rylan whispered. You're stronger than you think, Lucian said, brushing a piece of glass from his hair. And now the world knows it. A new storm was coming. But Rylan was no longer a forgotten orphan. He was a key. A threat. A force. And perhaps, a kingmaker.